Okay, welcome everybody. We are in episode 1 of the MELtdown, which is very appropriate for today because it's blistering hot in Winnipeg, and we're all going to be sweating in our in our webcam setups here. My name is Wes Rambo. Above me is Darren Martins, Darren iRobot Martins, and to his right is Stefano Funky D, analyst extraordinaire, host extraordinaire. I missed that title for Darren, but what we're going to do here, we called this the MELtdown. Because, I came up with it, in a fever dream and was like, this is going to be the name for our podcast for the league. So it's the first episode. I have set up everything, and I got some advice from, our tech gods, Kieran and Dylan. But if the audio is a little off, I'm sorry. We did the best we could. And we are going to do a Season 1 recap for League of Legends. We're going to talk through all the Amateur League, all the Premier League. We're going to talk about star players. We're going to talk about, narratives over the course of the season and just the way the season played out, what we expected, what we didn't, all these different things, and we're gonna break it down. How you guys doing today, Darren? What's going on, man? You still got the Red Bull, fridge, I see, looking good.
Red Bull's still hanging out with me here. I got so many of them. It keeps me company. On a hot day to have an extra fridge, cooking in the room with me, is really great.
Yeah, man. Just stick your hand in there sometimes, in the least. You cool off every part of your body individually.
That's how it works. Actually, just take the Red Bulls and put them in my shirt and in my pockets and stuff. It's great.
Oh, before we get to you, Stefano, I just want to say, because I'm seeing some stuff in the chat, next week we're going to do a version of this with Rudy and Dylan and Gunnar. That's going to be all CSGO focused. So today we're just talking about League of Legends. Likely going to be a bit longer because of there being 2 leagues and more teams with League of Legends, but we're going to talk about CSGO next week, and we're also, next week, we're going to break down, so we're going to do a little preview of the Valorant season as well, so you can look forward to that. Stay tuned. I'm not sure if we'll do it on this channel or our new, CSGO channel, but we are going to do that. Stefano, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't say I'm doing great, though, because I don't have a Red Bull fridge in my room that I can rub all over my body when I'm getting too hot, I guess, because that sounds like the dream.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm doing pretty good.
If you donate to our Patreon, you get a special video of Darren rubbing the Red Bull fridge all over his body.
Whoa. Okay.
I have just invented that donation incentive, but
but
I think it's a pretty good incentive.
Yeah, it wasn't for the Patreon; it was for the OnlyFans.
The OnlyFans, that's true. I misspoke there. Okay, well, let's get into it. I think what we're gonna do is talk about Amateur League first. It won't take as long, not as many teams, etc., and then we'll kind of get into the meat of Premier League and all the stuff that went down there. So, for Amateur League and kind of in general. Stefano, what I wanted to start with, I thought, was just talking about the metagame of our 2 leagues and sort of let's go with amateur specifically first. How did the meta sort of shape up, and what were some of the trends we saw with drafts and stuff like that?
What I thought was kind of interesting, specifically about the amateur leagues, was we had the kind of the first week where it was a lot of pretty simple team comps. You had these J4s, Olafs, these either hard engage or hard team fight comps. Then as you continued, people started developing kind of harder play styles. I'm going to exclude Espresso Depresso from that because they were playing.
We'll talk about them separately.
Yeah, but they people develop more kind of nuanced things. The thing, the one that comes to mind specifically would be the Scion, Scion Senna kind of thing from TSS. But there was quite a few examples. But it was funny as the teams were trying those out towards the middle of the season. A lot of them weren't working as well. We actually saw almost not a regression of the meta, but they went back to the normal of the the more team fight comps by the end, the closer to standard League of Legends, which I want to say I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't get anything incredibly spicy. Like, I kind of wanted to see Amateur League meta have, like, 80 carry support in the mid lane, and then the bruiser in the bot lane, or something crazy. But I did think it was interesting that they did try it, and they said, you know what, it's working better for us if we just play standard and play like good old fashioned League of Legends almost.
I like how it was the top teams who were doing the innovation too. Like, it was Espresso. We'll talk about Espresso Depresso a little bit. We'll get into them later, but they're the ones who are doing this crazy utility heavy glacial augment stuff. And TSS with their super non-standard bot lane that they all threw at every single team, and they won every time. I thought that was really cool that it was our top teams that were bringing that innovation. But yeah, like you said, like pretty normal team comps by the end. Darren, so did you have any thoughts on the meta? I know you watched all the drafts and heard all the analysts sort of like talk through that. What are your thoughts about like sort of how it developed over the course of the season?
You know what? I wasn't present for every one of these.
Sure, yeah, that's fair.
But for me, the meta stuff is a little bit more beyond my what I know about the game and what I'm analyzing about the game. I really like to see something like that glacial augment thing from ED and that bot lane from Wheelie and VirtualBox on TSS. Then
I'll ask you more so of like more of like from I don't want to put you as like the layman, but like as the layman's perspective, like when you see that, like what do you transfer it to your solo queue? Do you ever see that there's anything in this league and then go like, oh, I'm playing that in solo queue, or like I'm taking that to my game? You know what I mean? Like, did you find anything like that from, let's say, the Amateur League specifically?
I mean, I'm a bot lane like support and ADC or bot lane main. So seeing something like what VirtualBoxes and Wheelie were doing in the bot lane there, I would consider it. I mean, in that situation, it's like taking a meta like that and trying to apply it to a different to solo queue is a little difficult. I know, like Wes, you and I play together, and we do some.
We do some cheesy stuff
lanes.
sometimes.
Yeah. But if it fits a team comp of a bunch of stubborn solo queue players who just want to play whatever the heck they want, they will try some of that stuff. But I haven't tried the Scion bot yet. I think that it would be pretty interesting and could be pretty fun. But
and probably not that hard to pick up these types of things. Like champions like Tom Kench and Scion and like these bruisery oppressive things in the bot lane totally like are attainable for somebody in gold or whatever it is, silver, gold, who's looking to pick that up. So I hope that was the case for people who watched our league. I hope that they took some of this stuff, and hope that some of our analysts thoughts were useful to them in terms of like what they might change about their play. So anyway, Stefano, what's up?
I was just going to add, like, especially with Senna. Senna makes all those lanes so easy. Like, Senna can 2v1 or 2v1 consistently, but then if you throw a big body as well, it's a super effective lane, and it's not too hard to play out. That being said, if you pick it into the wrong matchup, you're going to lose. Like, no matter what happens, you're going to lose. So you just have to know when to pick it. But otherwise, as you're like, super easy to do.
And if you get it into, like, in solo queue, something that you'll find if you play a lot of it is that early game is so important because people tilt. So if you have a Senna that's just so oppressive in lane, that's just destroying somebody and like they can't do anything, a pretty decent percentage of the time they're going to be like the opposing bot lane is just going to be like GG 15, you know what I mean? Like, go next. Like, it definitely can be like a useful strategy to get those lane dominant picks. Anyway, we'll talk more about the meta as we go into the teams in specific, but for Amateur League, I just want to go through the teams. When we go through the bottom few teams, in particular our first team here, which is Lowkey Int, we didn't see a lot of them on stream. They had to forfeit a few games. They sort of had a bit of a problem, I think, kind of getting everybody together, which was a shame, because I think there was some fun stuff going on with that team, but there isn't much to talk about. I'll say I'm not sure if either of you have anything really to to mention about it. I'll admit I don't remember their games very well at all.
I do want to say I remember them. What we did see was very disorganized, but I noticed like a lot of like their individual players, like they made mistakes, but they were like very like fixable mistakes. I remember their top laner and specifically.
Yeah.
I remember this. He TP top lane like 10 seconds or 30 seconds before Dragon spawned and lost his team Dragon because there was a fight there. So it was like really easy stuff that they could have fixed had they had more practice time. So I do legitimately believe that they didn't deserve the whatever record they got.
Yeah.
They certainly weren't winning the league, but they could have been they could have been like not last but like second or third place to last.
Yeah, and Darren, you did a lot of the interviews there, and something you often asked, which I liked, was the question about like, who's your shot caller, and like, did you find, because I noticed that sometimes it was like right away, oh, it's this person, but often it would just be like, oh, we all kind of talk about it. Like, did you notice any like any correlation between those teams who were wishy-washy about the shot caller and those who were very specific about it, and their quality of play?
That's a super good question. I think that oh man, I'm just trying to remember what they all
well,
said
here's
to me.
here's like an example I'll give you just to like play off of. I think that Casually Reformed was one where it was like like, I don't know, I like this guy sometimes, but then TSS is like Virtual Boxes calls it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like I think that.
And that there was a big difference in their macro play and their team play, right? Between those two teams, we saw Casually Reformed coming out with individual prowess and skill, but lacking when it came to team play for sure. But TSS, communicated well. So yeah, I mean, it's a thing, right? I mean, the pros do it for a reason. Right.
Yep, for sure.
They pick one person or two people to call it, and it just it helps, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. Virtual Boxes in particular was one of like the top players in the league, and he was really able to like call those rotations that were, really high level in the context of our amateur league. So I really was impressed with that. But that's what was so cool about Espresso Depresso, I think, is that they had such like they had such a clear game plan. Every single game was like they draft, and it's like, this is exactly what this team is trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To go back to like Virtual Boxes for a second, like even he was making a lot of high level plays, and like even we interviewed him I think twice.
Yeah.
You can talk to him, just very obviously a super analytical guy.
Totally.
Even outside of league, like it's very much the like, if you had to like look at the personalities of everyone on TSS, you'd be like, okay, Wheelie's the person that's going to get a lot of kills, but it's going to be based off TSS. From their like personalities.
Yeah. Oh man. And it was like we had Virtual Boxes in, and he gave all this great analytical stuff, but then we would like go off on a bit about like, oh, I didn't see Darius or something, and he'd be like, are we going to talk about the game? Like he would literally just, I love the guy, but he would literally just like, guys, like, what are we even doing here? Like, it was so great.
Virtual Boxes was just coming on to flex that he was better than all the
analysts. Exactly. It was just like, are we going to talk? Like, I got more stuff to say about our draft if you want to hear it. I don't. Right? Oh man, that was great. Yeah. Anyway, the next up, we talked a little bit about Casually Reformed. Dragon Solar Bust is next up, which was a really interesting group, and I actually Kang was going to be a part of our podcast here, but I just want to look up a message he sent, because he said he is going to be, if he shows up, he will be quite late, but we'll be happy to have you, Kang, if you're still around. But in any case, Kang actually sent me like a little bit of a blurb about some of the teams, and I'll just kind of look. Basically, he was saying like they had some really great plays, but they were inconsistent, which is totally true. Dragon Solar Bust at the beginning looked like, in every game it felt like they would do something that was like, oh, this is a really great play, and they could really take over the game off of this. But then it just like they would just sit back, I felt.
Yeah, I always thought of Dragon Solar Bust. I always thought of them almost as like a team of like this was always the weird visuals. Like a team of jugglers is they will look spectacular for a while, but at every game there was a point where they would drop the ball, and they wouldn't drop like one; they would drop like 6 of them.
Yeah.
And they would still have 2
reaction.
balls. Yeah, they would have like 2 balls going.
Yeah.
But it would just every point. I'm going to be frank and saying this is going to be a little bit savage, but it's from a good place. Is they were the most disappointing team for me because it always felt like they were so close to doing something exceptional, or to doing not even something, but to play the whole game exceptional. Had they just figured out, I don't know what it was, but had they figured out like the little issues and just made them consistent, when they were at their best, they could have, I think certain elements were better than Espresso Depresso for sure. Yep. They were right up there with TSS, but every time they did something good, there would be like 4 or 5 things they did poorly that game. Yeah. It was really hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah, and that's actually something, it goes into like something else Kang said. Sorry, I'm just looking through my notes here. I'll show you this. I have like all these pieces of loose leaf that have like all the team lineups on them. And I would like, when I was casting, I would like put them next to me and switch them around for red side, blue side, but now it's just all a mess. But something Kang actually sent me was like, he said they have a lot, like Dragon Solar Bust has a lot of potential for next year, and we'll get to that. But like, yeah, Dragon Solar Bust are, like you said, really good players. Here I found them, and Jason Sensations was like maybe the best top laner in the league, I think. You know, like he was like really, really good in lane, and he often maybe majority of games he won lane, but it was just that, you know, their mid jungle synergy might not have been as, you know, hype as like Revivination Hypoconic or something like that. So you know, I like Dragon Solar Bust a lot. I liked watching them, and I think, you know, talking about, you know, going into next year, which a lot of these teams we know some of the teams that will be around next year, not all, but Dragon Solar Bust, if they are, you know, using the same lineup, I really think they can challenge, you know, those couple of teams that were above them.
And I want to talk. I just wanted to like mention too about the you were talking about Heartstopper and 6-inch. Yeah. That relationship that they had. I would say too. You said Jason Sensations was possibly the best top laner in the league. I think that Heartstopper was one of the best mid laners. Like all 4. Like I unfortunately I can't speak to Arcane Nugget very much, who is on Lowkey Int. Yeah. But Roxors, Royal, Revivination, and Heartstopper all individually were really good players and could hold their own. I talk about the mid laners all the time in both leagues. Our mid laners. Well,
it was funny. Yeah, we had a really good mid lane. Yeah, we had a really good mid lane pool, like in the entire league. It's very interesting, like how many really good mid laners are in Manitoba. You know, at all levels.
Yeah, for sure. Like it wasn't even close. If you had to pick like a best lane for average, it's the mid lane, and then it's like not even close to every other role.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so then we're getting towards Espresso Depresso, which would be the next team to talk about. And actually, for this one, if I can get this going, I've got a clip. And actually, what I did is I sent messages to all the other people who'd be on this podcast, Stefano, Darren, and Kang, and said like, hey, you know, can you give me like a clip you could go over? You know, and you could talk over. But actually, since Kang isn't here, I'll sort of do that. And he was talking about Espresso Depresso's rotation. In one of the first games, it was like I think one of the first games is week 4. Like, and so I think here it is, week 4. And so
I remember this. I remember watching this with Kang and Kang flipping out.
I'll just play it here. I'm pretty sure it should be on screen now. I'll just play it here. I'm pretty sure we roll through. This is just one of the situations. We roll through. This is just one of the. So this is like one of the things about this game is Bahu. Here's Bahu Utot. So this is like one of the things about this game is absolutely destroying him, flashing Olaf, but at the same time, destroying him like Olaf. So as the clip rolls, you're going to see you have like so as the clip rolls, you're going to see like with Bahu they use Bahu Utot's pressure in such a nice way where they use Bahuto's pressure in such a nice way. And where is this even the right? Yes, this is the right clip. So they're taking Rift Herald. Pressuring. This is the right clip. All so they're taking lanes Rift Herald at once. They're pressuring Rift Herald. It's like 3 lanes. The rotations in general in this game are crazy. It's like the rotations in general in this game rolls through. Hang on a sec. I'm just gonna see as this clip rolls through. Hang on a sec. I'm just gonna see if Virtual Boxes was going in here. Where it was Virtual Boxes was going in here. Yeah, and
Wheelie whiffed the ult there. I see you in the chat, Wheelie, if you're still there, man.
The season's over and we're still flaming people. You're never safe. We have the replay.
Okay, so we'll pause it there. I'm gonna see if. Okay, so we'll pause it there. I'm gonna see. I realize why there's an echo, so I'm just gonna. I realize why there's an echo, so I'm just gonna bring it back to our faces here. Whoops.
Okay. So while you're doing this, I also talking about Wheelie. I had said this before. I'm considering paying someone just to keep stats on Wheelie's emotes during this next season. Like that's the only stat I care about. I don't care about
so
kills,
many, man.
CS. Like I just care about how many times Wheelie emotes. I love it.
It's like very often just the thumbs up emote as well, which is objectively the best emote. Like there's no way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
It's like your team gets aced, thumbs up emote. Your team aces them, thumbs up emote. You get first blood, thumbs up. No matter what scenario, thumbs up.
I've been like going through my emotes. This is a total tangent, but I've been going through my emotes and like I've never paid attention. I don't spend. You guys know, like I don't spend any money on League of Legends. I go all default skins all day long, and I don't buy any of the like cosmetics or anything. But I've gotten a few free emotes for like honor and think these kind of things. And I went through mine and it was like, oh man, like I should like I should make my emote wheel, and then. I did it and I was like, okay, these are cool. Like I'll use these, and then I still just use the thumbs up. Like I spent like a bunch of time figuring out, oh, these are the and then I just use the thumbs up, man.
The best one, objective.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this clip that I was looking for, I don't think it's. Yeah. Anyway, Kang wanted to talk a little bit about Espresso Depresso's rotations, and also like. Yeah, they had really good objective control in a lot of cases because they were able to just like push lanes so effectively. You even saw in that clip where like all lanes are pushed and they're taking objectives at the same time. Just as long as one lane has pressure, they just used it so well.
No, yeah, for sure. Espresso Depresso. I remember when I was freaking out about that same clip with Kang.
Yeah.
And after they won their first series, the first week they were streamed, they like unironically looked better than the premier team that week.
Yeah,
they were so crisp.
Yeah, their rotation. It's hard to like show a clip actually to demonstrate it, but their rotations were insane that game. They were in exactly the right place every single time.
Yeah, there was never a mistake. That the entirety of that game, they were exactly where they need to be, and they were there like 5-10 seconds ahead, and they were able to set up vision as well. They weren't just in the right spot, they were in the right spot, but they were also ready for whatever was coming. It was actually incredible gameplay.
So actually I will roll this clip out because you can see that. So it's like Roxors went back after pushing out the lane, then Hypoconic has to flash away, and 3, 2, 1. No, I'm counting it down wrong, but Roxors is basically about to teleport into you can see his cooldown. So his teleport's about to come off cooldown. They bait it out. Roxor starts walking down the lane. There's the teleport. After like right as the wave's about to crash and they're about to move in for the poke, Roxor comes in with this crazy with this crazy Glacial Augment Vigar build and just like puts so much pressure. There's Roxors. I remember Stefano was saying here like Roxors, it's too early in the game. You're not supposed to be one-shotting people right now.
Yeah,
especially with Glacial Augment instead of Arcane Comet, right? Like, anyway.
Wheelie's so mad. Wheelie like got missed by just about everything he can dodge, and then he just got slowed and died.
Exactly. So yeah, they turn that into a dragon. They turn that into more pressure. So yeah, it's just like one of the examples of why Espresso Depresso were able to challenge. Like if you watch TSS and you think like, okay, so this is the rank of the players ish, and then you watch TSS play, it shouldn't be like most teams shouldn't beat them. They had really, really great aspects of their game. Basically, in every facet of their team, they had superior. They had a superior situation to like most teams made of players in that rank. But Espresso Depresso just had such clear game plans and executed on them smoothly, and they had like relatively easy to play team comps. You see things like Alistar and like Vigar and Olaf, these things, and so then they just did it, and really, really impressive from Espresso Depresso. If they come back next year, I definitely see them being like really, really strong.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. The one thing that I am like, in terms of Espresso Depresso, I guess like scared about, quote unquote, is their team seemed like it was the only team that didn't improve a lot over the course of the season. Or they did individually, but as a team, they didn't do a lot. And I think we might be in part for that, because Roxor's their mid laner, when he came in this call and asked why they stopped doing their their groundbreaking strategy, he said that it was pretty much because we kept calling him out on it. But
I know, but
we didn't call him out because it was bad. We called him out because we loved it.
Yeah.
And when we saw them transitioning to a more normal style of gameplay, it wasn't bad. Like, it was still above the other teams, but I don't think it hit the same level as some of their Glacial Augment shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then when they ended up going back to the Glacial Augment shenanigans, it didn't seem as crisp because it didn't seem like they were practicing it as much.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and like, I guess there's a even though that's true, like, he did say on the interview, like, oh, you guys keep talking about my Glacial Augment. Now I'm going to play Electrocute Ari. It's like, like, it is, you can figure that out, right? Like, there's a reason that you don't just see that strat played by everybody all the time. Like, it's not infallible. So it is good they tried to do something else, I think, like in the long run. But you said, that they might have like snapped to the adaptation a little too quickly instead of sort of like seeing that through and really being like, okay, we're going to keep doing this until it stops working, which I think is kind of better. Like, I don't think you should preempt that. I think you should, you're winning, just keep winning until you don't win with that strategy, and then, work on something, or then like bring something to the table in an actual competitive match where, like, rank is on the line there.
It was like definitely difficult for them, because like it's like the difference between like one tricking a champion and trying to get to your rank, and then they were like, nah, we don't want to do that, and then they like kind of like they played 50% games on like Thresh, 50% games on Bard, so like their Thresh and their Bard weren't nearly as good as they could have been had they just done only that.
Yeah.
But I do think that's simple as it, had they gone like just more hours into it, I think they and gone both those up to the levels that we know they could have been.
Yeah.
Then I think that it could have been a lot closer between TSM and Espresso Depresso.
Yeah. You saw, and that's the thing, right? You've got to be proactive about practice. You've got to really seek out. I saw some people. I wish I could remember who. There was one player, a representative of a team, who was in Discord like every day. We all like kind of are in a shared Discord. With the broadcast team and the players. We all have a Discord together so we can communicate. And there was one. I wish I could remember who it was. It might have been. But I can't think of it offhand. But it was somebody who was like always in there asking for scrims every single day. Anybody want to scrim? Amateur teams, anybody want to scrim? It was like, that is the kind of stuff that makes you into like really a really great team. And it might take more than the course of one season, but it is worthwhile for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I think the biggest, especially for the amateur league, with I think maybe a few exceptions, I think had every team simply done more practice, I think anyone could have won the league.
Yeah,
for sure. There was a lot of really strong showings. It was just, but we do understand, like, that is a lot of practice. No, not everyone wants to spend like 3 or 4 hours a day, like 4 or 5 times a week, just playing League with 4 other people who will, if they're anything like my friends, flame the hell out of each other. So
yeah, exactly.
So it's hard.
Yeah, and like you say, it's it is hard, and it's not always going to pay off right away. I just saw somebody said in chat it was Jet, which is not a player name I recognize. Maybe that's like but anyway, from Lowkey Int, which is like, Lowkey Int didn't do well in this season, but you can tell, and we talked about how there were good players on that team, and they didn't just roll over and die in the first game or whatever. Like they were playing some of these teams close, and that's the kind of attitude I really look for, and I hope that a player like that who has that kind of motivation doesn't take one season, losing to some better team cohesion or whatever as, oh, I'm not good enough to win this league. Like, I really think that things will change next season in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Actually, if I'm remembering correctly, I ran into a member of Lowkey Int in solo queue, or in I guess draft pick, because I was playing with Kang. Yeah. I ran into, I think it was Shoddy, their jungler, and he essentially was talking to him, and he was saying, we didn't end up playing together because we didn't, like, the Lowkey Int was the team that essentially they didn't know each other before going in. They all individually said they wanted to do it. So it was pretty hard for them.
Of course.
So that team gets, like, a little bit of a pass on maybe.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah.
Because it's a lot harder with strangers. But even then, Shoddy was talking. He was like still shout out to Shoddy. He was super positive about the whole thing. He so there was like, I think the biggest thing, and the reason why I'm really not hard on Lowkey Int, a lot of the players had really good attitudes, just like consistently.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's really nice to see. Like, I think that building a community and trying to create positive interactions is going to help us all. Like it as much as maybe wanky as that sounds, it's true. Yeah. Like it is a community we're trying to build here, and I think that we can all benefit from it if we all, if everybody works toward it, and the players who are putting in the extra effort to do that, I think it really help the scene, and I just think I think that's really cool that Lowkey Int is like, even though they didn't do like great in the league, they're still like, it was really cool that we did this, and we were happy to play in this league. And plus, like you say, they're all strangers, so they're just not going to have as much, their communication just isn't going to be as good intrinsically as those teams who are friends who've been playing together.
That being said, I was playing in a game with Kang, and Shoddy recognized Kang, but he didn't recognize me.
I remember this.
So I'm not saying that I'm super offended, but I definitely cried a lot.
Yeah.
Might have been for other reasons, but anyway, we're gonna ignore that.
Maybe a couple extra tears that night.
Yeah, exactly. Extra.
Yeah, I mean, I think though, like that, I'm just agreeing with you. I love that positive attitude, and honestly, it's kind of cool that they didn't know each other and put this team together.
Yeah.
I think there's so many people who play this game in this city, in this province, who I think we just learned. I forget which team it is. Which team is all from Dauphin? That Mel was telling us.
Oh,
Dragon Solar Bust or something.
Mel, if you're around, send us a message.
Casually Reformed.
Casually Reformed. There.
Casually Reformed.
Yeah.
All from Dauphin, Manitoba.
All 5 of them.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, I think it's cool, and I'm excited to see in season 2, especially in this amateur league, because I mean, the 3 of us and Kang, I think as well, could all technically play in this league.
Yep.
Like I think there's so many people who could play in this league and put a team together and be really competitive. I think that's really cool.
And I'm not saying like there's going to be a broadcast team actually participating in the league next year or anything like that.
That's not what I meant to say.
But I'm not saying that's not happening. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Also,
that's such a bait.
We're not saying we're going to win.
Yeah.
But all we're saying is that TSS, Espresso Depresso, Casually Reformed are at best getting second place.
Yeah,
at
exactly.
Best. That's all we're going to say about it.
All I'm going to say is I haven't said we're going to lose. Okay, this is such a bait. Like we need to get off this topic.
I'm just saying, did y'all watch our Clash video when we play Clash? Okay, it's on the internet. Watch it. Be afraid.
Twitch.tv/JSRambo. Check the VODs. Check the content. That is That is that's what you have to look forward to, everybody. So anyway, moving on, the last team in the amateur league to talk about, of course, is TSS, which is the winners. In the end, like pretty decisive winners. Like Stefano said, Espresso Depresso had a bit of a stagnation near the end of the league, where TSS just sort of kept improving, kept being able to, like, in contrast, Espresso Depresso switched up their strategy and sort of everything started to look a little weaker, whereas TSS kept switching strategies and kept winning. Even from the first week where Wheelie had to play mid, or instead of Revivination, and they had to use a sub. Like, it was clear, like, there were some really good players on this team, and they were just going to be able to use that, and they were going to be able to improve over the course of the season. So it was really exciting to talk about TSS and to watch them play, especially with this crazy bot lane stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to talk about the sub situation real quick, because this was iDumDum, yeah?
Yeah.
When you have a team, you see this in professional sports all the time too, when your bench has depth, it's you missing a player, and then suddenly iDumDum comes in and carries a game for you. It makes a huge difference, right? And it gives the players a little bit a leeway to chill a little bit, within the amateur league is kind of nice to chill probably too, where it's like, oh, I can't make this one, but I know that we're still probably going to win because our sub is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good to be able to trust in your sub like that. Yeah, iDumDum was great.
Yeah. And what was crazy to me for TSS is that even though they were the most by far the best team, or not by far, but they were the best team, they were arguably the most improved team as well.
Yeah.
They consistently got so much better. And as you said earlier, it wasn't like they weren't just doing one strategy. I consistently didn't know what they were going to do, and that's literally my job. Like, they could pick anything, they could flex anything, and so consistently it looked better than it did the week before, and the week before they did something so different. So TSS just, and I know I'm coming across as a TSS fanboy, but it is so by far such a incredibly good team to just be able to improve when they're already the best. So often we see teams, they're number one and they're like, all right, we don't have to work, but TSS just kept going with it.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it reminds me a little of Cloud9 in the LCS right now, right? Like, they're finding ways to improve, even though they're playing against competition where, that doesn't challenge them that much. Now, luckily, at the beginning of the season, we did get to see some really close games with TSS, which Espresso Depresso ended up beating them at least once. Because they, like you said, they started out with strong players, but the narrative definitely wasn't coming in. It wasn't like Kimchi Boys style, where it's like, okay, how is Kimchi Boys going to win this time? You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't what TSS was like at all at the beginning of the season. But by the end, it was like, I don't know, like, you can't bet against TSS. It just doesn't. And so, and if you followed that, you won that bet, because they pulled out just standard team comps in the finals and just took it.
Yeah, and I gotta give a huge shout out to Virtual Boxes, because consistently the thing where I think TSS, a lot of their skills were close to the other teams, but no one was close to the drafting of TSS. They were so far ahead of everyone else, it wasn't even close. They were better than a lot of premier teams. And how well and concisely they were able to pick and get pick what they want and deny what the enemy was getting. It was so incredible.
Yeah, and like, when you have a bot lane pool like that, it makes it so much easier, right? Because Espresso Depresso, Kang mentioned this in his notes, is that Espresso Depresso actually had pretty good drafts too. We talked about that one draft where they basically won through draft, but TSS, every week they just kept being able to be like, okay, so we have Senna here, and where's that gonna go, and then hang on, is this Sion, where's this Sion gonna go, and are they picking Sion, what are we supposed to ban out once they've picked this? That was always gonna the situation there. So really, just really impressive stuff there from TSS. That's the amateur league. TSS takes it. We're likely looking at quite a switch up in terms of amateur league for next season, but there isn't a lot of information right now. We just don't know, so we can't give you too much of a preview. I will take this time before we move on to the Premier League just to talk about how we are introducing a new and much more sort of cohesive and complete rulebook for the next season, which will restrict certain things in terms of players from outside of Manitoba. We are going to allow some, but everybody's going to have to be able to get here for the finals, because ideally we're going to have the finals in person this next year, which we were obviously supposed to have this past year, but that didn't happen. But yeah, so that's going to be one thing about this next season. We are changing up the format a little bit, but that'll all be coming. And if you're signing up for a team, everybody's going to be informed about that before. Everybody's going to be very clear on the rules and about how the season's going to play out. So this season we had a little bit of like commotion about certain things, but that's all going to be hopefully taken care of for next season, where we're a lot clearer on all that. And part of that is going to be, if you are at the top of the amateur league, you have an option, or depending on certain other factors, you might be encouraged or obligated to move up to the Premier League. And so we definitely we have something like that in the works, and we'll be more specific about that in the future. But that's something that we are going to be discussing. So take a look forward to that. I'll say that in lieu of much of a player preview for the amateur league, because we don't have a lot of information about the players and the teams for the amateur league. Not a lot of registration. Registration just opened. By the way, registration is open. So unless Mel wants to yell at me, but I believe registration is open at ManitobaEsports.com. So go check that out. I just need some water.
I just wanted to say, before we move on, I want to see all of these teams in amateur, and like I said before, I kind of said before, it would be so great to have even more teams coming in, new players. Royal, I think you're listening. I want to see Casual Reformed come in, because because I really think, we talked about TSS a lot and Espresso Depresso quite a bit. I really think that Casual Reformed could come in and, again, like you guys said, like practice, work on that team play, work on that macro, that they could definitely take it to. They have the individual skill, I think, absolutely, to take it. So yeah,
I totally agree. I want to see and that would be so cool to see as many of these old players come back, as many of these players from season 1 come back as possible, because then we're looking at narratives that continue on from season 1. We might see some roster shifts. I'm really excited about that stuff. We'll talk about a little bit of the roster shifts that we know about for the Premier League. Sorry, just looking through my pile of notes here. It's useless. But anyway, there are some roster shifts we know about for the Premier League, so we'll talk about that. Anyway, we will move on now to the Premier League, and at the bottom, ranks of the Premier League, we had a couple of teams. We had 3 teams that I'll sort of put into that tier, which were Valour, Bruvs, JV1, and Flawless Virtue, who were mostly, for a lot of the time, were not able to get a lot going. We had flashes from each of them. I remember JV1 definitely, when we first saw JV1, it looked like, okay, they can take it to somebody. They've got some potential here, but then there's just such ridiculous competition here. When you look at the rank differentials, I'm not sure any of these teams really were going to be able to challenge even the top the mid-tier teams who were starting to get into high diamond players.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I do agree with you. It did seem like, with the exception of JV1, as you said, they had a really strong opening. It didn't feel like the bottom 3 teams were on the same level. That being said, I do think that specifically in the case of I had it written down, but unfortunately I forget it. If there's a few of the bottom teams, is their mistakes are not that hard to fix. Kimchi Boys was obviously incredible, but teams like Oasis and Weight Slammers, for example, they were definitely beatable by these bottom teams. It was just play. And this sounds like the worst advice ever, but just play better. Like it wasn't. They weren't like, their bot lane wasn't awful, their jungle wasn't awful. It was just everything just needs to be like a few rungs higher on the ladder, and then I think they were all good, but it's still a lot of catching up to do.
Well, because Poison Bow and Shoddy, the bottom lane for JV1, looked like a really strong bot lane initially. But then they go up against like Gabby's and Threshmane, and it's like, okay, well, you're gonna be behind in CS against that, like, no matter what. Like, you just can't. So, like, if you can just, get to a point where you're getting your 10 CS behind instead of 15 or whatever, instead of 25, like, if you like these marginal improvements, I think. You can take, we do best of threes, which I think is the best way to do it in order to, really make sure the best team wins in most cases. But still, you can take a wild best of three off of somebody. Like it is possible. And against a team like Oasis or a team like Weight Slammers who were good, but they had their flaws that could be exploited. I think that these teams who came in, at 9th, 8th, and 7th definitely had a chance.
I mean, I think I was just gonna say again, my macro knowledge and team play knowledge isn't quite as good as your guys, but I will say this: JV1 probably had the best chat audience of anyone.
That's true. That's right.
I have flashbacks of people spamming the chat with just the Pyro God.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everybody was fans of Pyro God.
Yeah, and fans are important, man. But I really do agree with what you guys are saying. They have really strong all the way through that can. I'm hoping that they're coming back. But Wes, you know what's going on with that. But I'm sure we'll cover it later. But as far as the other two, those Valour Bruvs and Flawless Virtue, I don't know pretty much anything about Valour Bruvs, to be honest.
Yeah, and Valour Bruvs was another one of those teams. I'm not sure, but they could have been a team of solos. Like they might have not known each other before, but also they were one of those who had to like forfeit some games. They weren't able to make it to some of the games, and so that was a shame. It just happens. It was the first year of the league. It was a lot of these people's first time ever playing any sort of competitive game, and having to do a lot of work themselves for that. So it's just too bad. But there were some good players on Valour Bros for sure. It was just not as cohesive a team, basically.
Yeah.
Once we move past kind of those three, unless was there anything else about those three teams? That's Valour Bruvs, Flawless Virtue, and Espresso Depresso. I'm just gonna look through their lineups and see if there's anything else I want to mention about them, because.
Sorry, that was Valour Bruvs, Flawless Virtue, and JV1.
That's right.
I think you said Espresso Depresso, but maybe I'm hearing things.
Sorry, Valour Bruvs, JV1, and Flawless Virtue. I might have misspoke there. Flawless Virtue had Apocalyptical, who was another like really good mid laner. We're just talking about all these players in mid lane. Even among like Tathalis was another one where it was like his team wasn't. Like his team was good, but like mid tier for sure. But he was like competing with Kept and the likes of Kept and those Bladist and those people. So that was really cool as well to see like Apocalyptical being able to take it. I think Apocalyptical like solo killed Yunbi one time or something like that. Like it was like
hype.
Yeah, it was real. Anyway, so then since those three teams, we'll leave those three teams now and move on to Oasis. And Stefano, I think this is the clip that you wanted to discuss. So let me know if you can see it on my screen.
Yeah,
here.
I can.
I'll switch over. And this first thing is that jungle invade. So I'll just play this out.
Oh yeah, wait. Just before you play it
Set
out.
It up. Yeah.
So I want to say that this like sequence of events is by far my favorite play in League of Legends history. Screw your X-Pekes, screw your Fakers, what was that? this is the like the most 4D chess, but like not like unironically, it's a 4D chess moment, and it's so incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first one I wanted to play was the Invade.
Okay.
You want to start that?
Yeah.
So, I'll explain how both these plays were important at the end because it functions together as more of a pitcher. But the important thing,
I'll play them both. Yeah.
Yeah. The important thing here is a really late invade where you were guaranteeing either a free buff because they're not there, unless they were a free buff, or chances are a kill because you have Olaf Nautilus, and then which was the big thing there to get the Kazakhs behind. Later on in this game, you actually we don't need to focus on it, but Kazakhs doesn't end up trading for blue buffs. Nappy and Tathalis both roam and get him off of it pretty quick, which sets the Kazakhs very far behind. Then if you want to go to the next play...
So the next play I had was around the 15-minute mark so it's around the 8-minute mark in the in the game here. I'll do, it's around maybe around the 9-minute mark there. Yeah, here.
Yeah. So and we can see the right at 8 minutes, it's really important. Kingsland comes in, burns the flash from Steven solo kill, which sets up perfectly for the Rift Herald, because now that means if the flash now it means that Cassiopeia can't really contest. If Cassiopeia had flash, she can maybe try to clear waves, but then the Rift goes to a bunch of damage, but then you additionally have the Ziggs, and the Ziggs gets the satchel charge, and just like that, you're more than 3,000 gold ahead at 10 minutes, and you won that game in less than 10 minutes with a few good calls. Yeah. And so if you can pause it here and actually just go to about 6 minutes and 10 seconds in the video, this is when the draft is, because this is when it gets, this is really what I want to show.
Here we go.
Is how exceptional this draft is. So that entirety of that play was planned out from draft, and you can actually see they were edging on it. So they first picked Ornn, and then White Slimers counterpicked with Sion, Ezreal, which isn't too surprising. Both of them are very safe. So then you go Kai'Sa, Nautilus. Kai'Sa Nautilus is really good because Nautilus is really beefy. He can help Kai'Sa get through lane phase. On top of that, Nautilus brings a bunch of single target lockdown when you need him to either peel defensively for Kai'Sa or go in. And then White Slammers pick up Yuumi, which was a smart pickup by them. And you can see the bans that aren't really all that consequential. Then the Cassiopeia pick, and this is where Oasis seizes on that opportunity so hard. They end up going for the Olaf's Ziggs, and this is where you can see that they had the strategy in mind the entire whole time. They went for late invade because Olaf is impossible. Olaf is like impossible to fight when he's ahead. Yeah, and especially early, so they're able to get a really quick early lead, especially with Nautilus, who's probably the second best invading support in the game. And then bonus points because White Slammers put Eat Dog on Kha'Zix, and Kha'Zix is notoriously not great when behind. They did that, but they were able to do the strategy because when they saw the Cassiopeia, they noticed that they had double tier mid bot lane, and throughout the first 15 minutes of the game, a King's Land on Nautilus, and unfortunately I'm forgetting who plays the Olaf, but the Olaf is in their jungle the whole time, and White Slammers can't rotate because White Slammers has a tier in the bottom lane, tier in mid lane. They have 1,500 gold of stats that's not doing any damage, which allows Olaf to snowball more and more, which allows King's
That's actually just to butt in. That's Roman on jungle, who actually is he's like a grandmaster jungler. He was their highest ranked player. So yeah, it's like put Roman on this carry position. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, and then Roman and Kingsland were able to roam around the whole game with the Ziggs, and they were able to get towers. They were able to push their advantage so quick. They won that game in 25 minutes in such a dominating fashion. They did, of course, end up losing the series, but they lost the series when the games went long. Oasis had it was so far thought out. It was so thorough. They played it to exception. This was some of the best League of Legends I've ever seen, and I cannot rave on enough about this. It's so amazing.
Just every part of it works. Like they saw this last minute jungle substitution come in. They look him up. Okay, this guy plays Kha'Zix. What do you do against the Kha'Zix? you shut him down early so that he can't get rolling, right? And so then like the whole thing is designed already around exactly what they're expecting. Like I love how Oasis was able to predict this and able to like be like, okay, we're giving you the Ezreal Yuumi because if we fight level 1 we can win there. Like, you know, it's just like everything about it is awesome. Like I love what Oasis did here. I love that you chose this draft and this clip to shout out, because
one thing I did want to notice as well, point out as well, is when so Oasis picked the Ornn first, then they went into Ezreal, and the vast majority of teams would pick Yuumi here, but they deliberately chose not to. They picked Kai'Sa because Kai'Sa kind of soft counters Ezreal, because if Ezreal eats away, Kai'Sa just arts behind him and assassinates him. So they intentionally let them have the Yuumi, and it works really well because that lane, despite being at this point when the game was played easily the best lane in the game, Ezreal Yuumi, and still probably is, that the big flaw of that lane is they have no wave control almost at all. They get really pushed in and they can't control the wave. And so that once again fits back to Oasis and Roman specifically wanting to always be in their jungle, because if Weight Slammers can't control the wave, and when they have a lot of gold spent on mana, they can't rotate. It's just it works on every single level.
Well, I mean, who's like one of the few mid laners who can outpush Cassiopeia? Ziggs. Not only that, if you're trying to push, who can take down towers the fastest? Like it, I know it's genius. The more you talk about it, the more I love it too.
No matter what angle you look at it from, it was checkmate. It was like, oh my goodness, I love this so much. I'm sorry, someone stopped me. It's
awesome.
Ranting,
okay, we're gonna move on. Yeah. Thank you, Kang. We're gonna move on. The next team we're gonna talk about, and it's very, very surprising to have them at this point in the podcast, basically in this order, is Vodortron, because Vodortron ended up losing to Weight Slammers, and they had an unfortunate situation where they had to drop a couple of games because of some of their or they lost a couple of games with a sub because of some of their players having to take exams. It was just kind of bad timing there, but still Vodortron is one of the teams we were looking at when we saw this lineup, and with one person in specific, we're like, well, who could beat them? Like, they've got Rodov, the like literal professional world's experience player in the mid lane, which is like the way you can affect the map the most right now. They've got this, pro player in mid lane. How could Vodortron lose, right? But, first of all, Rodov had to play mid, and he's a top laner, normally. And so, he's having to play that position. It's not like it's that different, but there are some pretty significant differences there, and also, and then they had to put Dinsbag in the top lane, who was like amazing on Darius, and like pretty much just like an Ornn duty the rest of the season. Besides those Darius games, so Vodortron being this far down is a big surprise.
Yeah, for Vodortron, they had quite a few issues cohesively. They didn't seem as strong as some of the other teams in the league, like Kimchi Boys or like even XYZ. But they did have one really huge strength, and that was Dinzy. No, they did.
That was forcing teams to ban Darius every game.
Exactly. But I think where it did really fall apart for Vodortron was having Tom in the mid lane. Tom was able to win or not even win. He was either able to go even or win a lot of his lanes, but he was never really able to like 1v9, where is what you'd really want if you're putting a player of that caliber in the game. But also a lot of their strategies did revolve around mid lane, and it might have just been uncomfortable like with the mid lane role. It also might have been like we've mentioned so many times now, that mid lane is so stacked. But he wasn't really able, to be this hyper carry that this team wanted. Every game that they lost, his score was pretty good, but his team was still losing,
Yeah. Well, and sometimes he ended up on like karma and stuff. Like, I don't know, like, sure, you can't rely on Rodov to carry against Yunbi, who we'll talk about later, but like Yunbi's obviously a better mid laner than Rodov, no matter how many academy teams Rodov has played on, right? Like Yunbi's one of the best mid laners in the world. So it's like, you're not good. Like, fair enough, you can't put Rodov on a carry, like on a crazy hyper carry every game and expect him to just drag you through. But still, putting him on Karma, like I just don't know. Like some of their drafts were weird to me, based on like their opponents and based on where they were kind of focusing.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right.
Because they had 2 other academy players. Major Danger as well has played on, I think, Clutch Academy, and then Abu 222, their support as well, has delved into that. So this team just looked so stacked, and then they really the Kimchi Boys just took it to them every time, and then other teams started to do the same. It felt like they maybe like lost their fire. Like they did look very good at the beginning of the season, and then sort of just kind of the other teams improved while they stayed the same. Maybe is the best way to put it.
Yeah, it like I don't want to say like, as obviously don't know a lot, but it didn't seem like they were getting a lot of practice just in general. Like a really easy way to tell is that I think like week 1 or week 2, I was watching the games. They had like the worst dragon call that I've like ever seen. Like it was so bad. Their top laner wasn't there. He didn't have TP. They decided to try to fight it, and they lost like pretty much because of that dragon call. And then I remember watching the next week, they made almost the exact same mistake. Like it didn't seem like they were working towards their improvement as much as the other teams were.
Yeah, well, like something like a team like Oasis or XYZ is another example. Like you can tell they are grinding. Like they're coming back.
Yeah.
The following week they're coming back, and it's like, this team can, like this team is getting it. Like they are really, they're improving on every mistake. They make a mistake, you can tell they're pissed that they made that mistake, and they're like, okay, so like next time we have to do this rotation instead, and Vodortron maybe was a little bit more casual about it. So yeah, I mean, unless Darren has any comments on that. Darren, did you ever watch any of the did you ever watch any academy, any LCS academy and see Tom play?
No, I didn't. I was unaware that we had a Manitoba player on an academy team.
Yeah. And like I remember when he subbed in. Oh no, okay, so this was an academy game where he played. Either it was an academy game or it was he got subbed into Clutch Gaming in the LCS, and he played Hecarim because apparently Rodov used to be like a Hecarim top 1 trick or something. Like I saw like this backstage or casual cast or something with some of the players, and it was like, I don't know, like Solo and Licorice or something. Like it was like these LCS top laners, and they were being like, yeah, Rodov's Hecarim is sick. Like they were talking about this guy, and I was like, wow, this guy's from Winnipeg. Like what, so that was like a really, really cool thing to see. But yeah, Vodortron definitely kind of casually sitting back through this league, and teams like XYZ made him pay for it for sure.
The only thing I can really say, unfortunately, I didn't get to see Vodortron that much. I would love to see, you're hyping up Rodov a lot for me here. I would love to see a roster switch in which he can play in that lane that is comfortable for him. I think that would be very exciting in the next season. But I mean, I don't know anything about that. We'll see. But
that's something really cool because the top lane pool is strong. Cozy Shroud, Lamppost, these guys are like really good players. Nappy, but Rodov would be the best top laner in the league if he was playing top. So it's definitely like they put him in mid lane because mid lane affects the game the most, and so that's let's put our best player in mid lane, right? But I totally agree. I think it would be super exciting to see Cozy Shroud and Rodov, duke it out in the top lane. Like that would be totally. That would be exciting for sure.
To put into perspective how good Rodov is to everyone watching, he did go to Worlds. He was the backup for TG. Clutch. Clutch. And the only reason he was a backup was that he was backup to Huni, I believe, at the time. And you to even say that his team brought him enough that they were considering playing him above Huni.
Above Huni,
who is,
yeah.
If you don't know who he is, look up Huni. He is, like, if you take over all of his lifetime achievements, arguably the best top laner ever.
Yep.
Then they were considering putting Tom above him. He's so good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a crazy good top laner. He's so consistent. If you watch him in, like, you know, some of the, and what the thing is, we'll talk about this at the end, but he has expressed interest in, you know, making another run at professional League of Legends play. And, you know, if you saw this league, it's like, well, you know, this isn't a good representation of, like, what Rodov can do, the way, like, another player who's also, I've heard rumors of him, you know, considering that, is Yunbi, who this guy looks like he could, like, go straight, like, no mechanical improvement required. This guy could go to an LCS team. Like, he's so good. We'll get to that later. For now, we'll move on to Weight Slammers, who ended up in, what was it? So, did Weight Slammers end up in 3rd place or 4th place?
I believe it was 3rd because they played Vodortron in the 3rd place game. Yeah.
Right. Then the next team we'll talk about instead of Weight Slammers is League of Dawgs. Because they would have ended up 4th place. Is that correct? Or 5th? Or did? Yeah, I think 4th, 5th was Vodortron, League of Dawgs.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll talk about League of Dawgs, which was such an unusual team. Even among all the others, sort of comparable to Vodortron in some ways, where they have one star player who they're trying to sort of focus around, and of course that's Gabby's, this challenger ADC player, who kept going on to the Cassiopeia and, like, these hyper carries, Kai'Sa, and they were making it work a lot of the time. You know, like that bot lane looked like generally the best bot lane in the league.
Oh, without a doubt, they were the best bot lane in the league. Like, that was the Afro Moo double lift, like, season 3 kind of deal. It wasn't even close. Consistently, it was never like, oh, how do we win this lane? It's, oh god, how do we end this lane phase so we can get out of bot lane as soon as possible.
Yeah, you knew Gabby's was going to have the CS lead every time. Like, every time, no matter who you're playing against, no matter jungle pressure, he was always getting that. You know, the other players on their team were sort of like, they were it was the same as, like, Dinsbag on Vodortron, where it was like, just, you know, you build a team comp around this bot laner, and then you just survive lane against, like, this crazy onslaught of, like, Yunbi and Lamppost and whatever, Rodov, you know, like, having to, like, Bladist, Platinum 1, having to play against these guys, and honestly doing pretty damn well. Bladist, like, he was totally surviving those lanes for the most part. He maybe got solo killed a few times, but, like, he did better than I would have done when I was Platinum 1 mid laner. I'll tell you that. Like,
yeah, no, he was, like, no one's saying that he's the best, but he was punching way above his weight class the entirety of the league.
Yeah, I think Laird as well. And Darren, I'll ask you about this because we're talking about you're talking about how, like, you're not as comfortable with, like, meta analysis and stuff, but something that I hear from, or I hear talked about a lot, and I really think it's true, is that one of the most valuable things you can do when, like, when analyzing a player is use the eye test. You literally, like, what it looks like when that player is playing, like, how well, and it doesn't sound like it would be the most valuable. Like, it doesn't sound like it will be, you know, the be all and end all and the number one way to analyze a player, but I think in many cases in League of Legends it actually is. Like, it's just such a, you know, like, looking at the player and seeing what they can do. When you're watching a good player, you can just tell. Like, if you don't believe me, like, watch, like, a Faker game, or like watch a Faker game, and then, like, I don't know, like a Ryu game now or something with the nameplates off, and, like, see if you can determine which is which. Like, you'll be able to know which one is Faker, you know what I mean? Or you'll be able to know which one is, like, Bjergsen compared to Huhi or something. Like, it is that big of a deal. So, like, did you notice people like Laird and Bladist, Darren? Like, did you notice, like, a really significant difference in, like, your eye test with them compared to someone like Yunbi or Kept?
Yes, absolutely. Like, this is something that I had said before. Bladis, like I forgot that his rank, his solo queue rank was quite a bit lower.
Yeah.
But I didn't forget because he just didn't perform at the same level, right? Like you see like Gabby's go wherever, like either in bot lane or mid lane. It was so obvious that this guy was incredible, and Thresh main as well.
Yeah.
You know, we cannot leave Thresh main out of that conversation. Blade is going up against these incredible mid laners. Yeah, I mean, you feel that in solo queue too, right? When you're playing up against a player that you're just like, I feel so oppressed, and like he's like, I swear I'm dodging a different way than what I normally do. He's still hitting me with the skill shot. You know, like those things, they just are on top of you all the time. And yeah, you see that they know exactly when to go in and when to disengage and all that stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, after the first wave in solo queue, you already know what you're in for. Like you know, and like anybody who's played solo queue will confirm. It's like, oh, like I know exactly how good this guy is, you know, more or less, just by watching him play one wave against me. You know what I mean? Like, or one level, which I think is really cool. I think it's like it's a very interesting way to analyze sports in general. And esports in particular, because you can't see the person, you can only see the character. And so, you know, with like LeBron James, you can see like he has like a very, you know, you know it's LeBron James because you can see him, and then the way that he moves is intrinsically tied to the way that he looks because you're watching him as a person do it. Where with Faker, sometimes he plays LeBlanc, or sometimes he plays, you know, whatever, Karma, like Galio, like all these different champions, but you still just kind of can tell it's Faker, which I think is a really cool just aspect of esports. Yeah, so that's something really cool, and it's like Darren said, you notice it with League of Dawgs because Bladist is on the team and Laird is on the team. These guys low diamond, high platinum, and then Gabby's is on the team as well. So the directed cam is switching back and forth, and then you're like, wow, like what is happening in the bot lane? This guy is insane, right? Like, yeah, it's so cool to see.
Totally different level.
You only want to watch the bot lane. Like that's all I want. I'm like, why is this switching to anything else? I just want to see this bot lane play.
Yeah. Yeah. So Weight Slammers, you know, congratulations to or League of Dawgs, sorry, congratulations to them on you know, eking out, I believe it was that 4th place spot, and you know, we're hoping to see them next season, obviously, because like Gabby's is a very exciting player to watch. You can tell like Bladist and Laird can slot into a very high level team and do just fine as long as, you know, they've got the pieces. So yeah, that's really exciting. Fasabe is somebody we didn't really touch on. Solid jungler, but didn't make the highlight reel a lot. So you know, it's not a, you know, a Roman situation where, you know, Roman was just popping off because his rotation was, or Captain Snarfles, who had these like insane pathing, anything like that. So yeah, that's League of Dawgs. Unless Stefano, you have anything else to add there?
Yeah, and I was just gonna in response to the jungler, Facade, right?
Fasabe or Fasab.
Fasabe, right.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes to my point is that I very often had trouble remembering League of Dawgs' jungler, but that's not because he was bad. It was because he was so consistent. He was like the definition of a rock. Like as Wes said, he was never winning, but he also not one time lost the game. Not a single time did he lose the game for his team. So really, really like really good job, because that's realistically all you can ask for from a jungler.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we could make a highlight video just of Thresh main, like flash hooks and like crazy Thresh plays. Like this guy, the amount of times, and I don't know how he does it, like the amount of times in lane, Thresh main would flash on the enemy bot lane and get them both in a flay at like level 2 or 3, and then they would get 2 kills, like, and against like Abu and stuff, and I Am Owner and stuff, like against these teams, he was able to do it. Like, how do those like high diamond grandmaster players keep falling for this? Like, it's just so crazy what Threshmain could do.
Like, right when I do that, I just get double killed. He gets a double kill. Exactly. I swear I do the same thing, but it just works for him.
I know.
I don't know what happens.
I always love that, like watching one of the big things, like I tried to learn Rise a little while ago. Quite a while ago. Like when I saw like I don't know who it was, like Phoenix play Rise or something, and I was like watching like a really cool Rise game, and I watched a bunch of highlights of good Rise players, Faker obviously and stuff like that. And Yunbi is another good example where when I was like, this guy's Rise just does more damage with one ability than mine. Like, like his Q at level 1 does more damage than my Q at level 1, even though we have the same runes. Like, it's so it's crazy. Like, and that's the eye test, right? Like, that, just being able to find a more effective way to use your abilities.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on then from League of Dawgs, we will finally move on to Weight Slammers. So we've actually already sort of gone through some of the Weight Slammers discussion there, and once I find their lineup, we had to switch back and forth here a little bit with who was on the broadcast, and so not all of us saw all the games, and so you'll forgive us for having to use our notes here, but. Steven Solo Kills, the first one you want to go to, just another name on that list of really great mid laners in our league.
I want to shout out Steven Solo Kill because I felt so bad for him. The man had Solo Kill in his name, and he got ganked more than any other person. He got ganked more than Yumbi, he got ganked more than Gabby's, more than Cozy Shroud, more than like all these other amazing players, but like people just saw the solo in his name and were like, no, we can't have that. Like, no, everyone go.
Well, and the funny thing is, he still did solo kill some people. Like, he solo killed Yunbi. Like, this guy is crazy. He solo killed Kept a couple times. This is a really good player. And, Summoner Dude, also solid top laner. Lazy and Justin were sometimes a weak point, but I remember that one of the playoff games where Lazy played Lucian, who, like, I don't think is a very good champion right now, but he just popped off. Like, it was just like he was the only damage his team needed. All of them kind of had their moment in the sun. There was Sixtus early on in the jungle, and they swapped him out with Eat Dog. And Eat Dog was a good jungler as well. Sixtus was pretty good too, but their junglers also weren't high impact generally. Neither Sixtus nor Eat Dog, but Steven Solo Kill is kind of the main story here with Weight Slammers, I think, where it was just like where some teams is like, okay, we've got to play around our mid lane or our bot lane. No, teams played around Weight Slammers mid lane.
Yeah. I want to expand a little bit on the bot lane, like you said, and the one, I believe it was the game against Oasis Esports. To move forward in the playoffs. That I think that Summoner Dude came on for the interview afterwards, and that was the game when Lazy, like you said, went on that Lucian and it like popped off. Like, it was insane.
Yeah.
And it was cool to hear him talk about it because, first of all, he was like possibly the most excited person.
That's true. Yeah.
Interviews. He was so jacked after that game. And they put Lazy on Ezreal 2 games in a row, the first 2 games, kind of unassuming, doing well, not super flashy, right? And he said specifically, they were like, you know what, this game, let's like take a step back, let Lazy go on this Lucian and just pop off. Like, it's like they had planned for it, and then he did it. It was incredible. It was so great to see.
Oh yeah, I do want to add for Lazy as well. He has probably my pick for being the only person that can compete with Gabby's on a mechanical level. He was really good, not just in that final Lucian game. Like, even in the first game of playoffs, he played really exceptionally well. Just throughout, he played on Ezreal. He is just so consistent. He hits all his skill shots always. I think he got in a little bit of trouble sometimes when he got caught out. Specifically, I remember more than once, which is really noticeable, people came from either behind him to tower dive him or TP'd on them, and he did not notice at all. But in terms of mechanics, he is so incredible. It's amazing.
And Stefano, I just got to say, like, on a whim, I pulled up a clip of Lazy in that third game there while you were talking, and literally the moment you said like he's got really good mechanical skill, then it was Lazy like tower diving a Galio and taking him out, and then when you said he gets caught out sometimes, it was literally him getting caught out by a Jarvan right after that. It was like, you've got to watch the VOD back. That was crazy. Anyway,
he killed the J4.
Like, he still gets the kills there, but it was just like the timing of it was amazing. But he still gets the kills, which is insane. So Weight Slammers kind of came out of nowhere. Like, they punched above their weight. I'll say that. Like, they really they did a lot more than we expected them. I mean, just beating Vodortron is like a big enough accomplishment in itself. And beating Oasis is, no joke either. When we did talk about Oasis, we ran Steph's clip and he went off. But I do want to go back for a moment, because one very special player we forgot to mention is Nappy, who was Johnny and I's favorite player throughout the entire league, because of that first game we saw where it was like the most feast or famine Riven play I've ever seen. Like, it was like he
pull up the clip of just him.
I know, yeah. I'm not gonna do it to him. Like, I don't need to give that to Nappy. But at the same time, like in that same game, he carried that game. Like, jumping over that wall, or no, he carried the following game also on Riven or something like that. Like he got some crazy 5-man stuns. His team fighting as Riven was amazing. And it was just crazy to watch him play, because he would just go in. Like, anytime he saw an enemy, he would go in. It was like it was amazing to watch. I love that style.
It's the Nappy narrative, man.
I
hope that the Nappy narrative continues into season 2.
Will we see Clappy or Crappy in the server? Oh man,
it's so harsh, man. But
Clappy was the one who showed up most of the time, so power to him.
He was so crazy. Specifically, he was like one of the most interesting players to watch, because like 30% of the time he would pop off, and then 50% of the time he would probably like go even to like a little bit above average. But 20% of the time he didn't just lose; he like giggle
inted.
Like it wasn't just like a bad game. Like it was like uninstall the game.
No, that's the it's the MLXG, right? Like that's exactly the kind of stuff I like. I just love seeing that. Okay, so now that we've done a little bit of a reprisal of our Oasis discussion, we'll move on actually to the top 2 teams. So XYZ is the first one to talk about, and they had a swap about halfway through where they swapped out Navcast, who's already a really good support, for Bluehole, who's arguably even better. And so that bot lane was very strong. And like the interesting thing about XYZ is that their bot lane was the place you'd want to target because of the rest of their team. So like people playing around that bot lane, that's why XYZ, League of Dawgs, while they weren't as good a team, they actually had a good matchup into XYZ, because they had a top half of the map that could survive, and then their bottom half was better.
I think what's like really crazy about XYZ is that their bottom lane was so good, and normally when you see that, you normally see like the top side being a little bit weaker, but their top side was definitely weaker. But as you said, they held their own always. Whenever they lost the game, it was never because someone fed. It was because they were playing against Kimchi Boys, and that's pretty much it.
Exactly.
But like they were so solid. I'm just impressed in the consistency. Whenever I saw them play, I saw pretty much the same game every time, and almost every time it was them winning.
So this is Darren's clip that he sent me in preparation for this. So I'm going to switch over and we'll play it now. We'll play it once we're queued up. Am I at the right timestamp here, Darren? Am I about at the right spot here?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's very close. It's very close. He's going to jump to the dragon very soon. So before you play it though, Wes, just
set it up.
We talk about so much about how Kimchi Boys they're just better than everyone, and I mean they prove that they are.
This is from the grand finals, by the way. This clip,
this clip is from the grand finals, and I just wanted to point out this fight. There were so many fights that we could point out, but generally in these games, XYZ did really well for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the game, and kind of mid-game, late-game, Kimchi Boys kind of took it away. This is a fight from quite early on that I just wanted to kind of highlight how good XYZ is. Because obviously you just said they won most of the games that they played, but honestly, I think that if XYZ comes back with the same lineup and can figure out, that mid game, late game, some of the macro stuff later on, the matching rotations that Kimchi Boys was doing, I think that they are really strong competitors for the very top of the league. Obviously, they're at the top of the league. But yeah, go ahead and play it. And it's just watching this team fight. So this
we're about to
is,
head down to Dragon there. I think.
Yeah, they're just whacking at each other as top laners do. Jumping down to the Dragon here, Captain Snarfles gets pretty low taking this Dragon. And Olaf comes in to punish this 9-6. Really great, just dodge there by Captain Snarfles. Yeah. So look at that, the flash over from Blue Hole. Now double TP coming in the river there. Lamppost gets his double stun, and now here comes Kept. All right, Kept just like understanding this champion so well. The flashes here that they're doing to get out of these fights out of trouble here is just incredible. Now this, I see this in a solo queue game, and I'm LE on Ezreal. I'm like, okay, I'm out.
All right, we're done. We're done.
We're done. Look how low Kept gets here. He's like, nah, man, I'm staying in this shit. And jumps in and gets these 2 kills at the end of this. I mean, the understanding of the micro play in that fight, I think that they end up maybe not acing them because I don't think that Ornn was there.
Ornn didn't have TP, I think.
Right, he didn't have TP. But they end up going like 4 for 2 or something like that.
Yep.
And I just like... Okay, I should also say that I wanted to find the clip. We were talking earlier that there was some early play in the amateur league that was so good and better than the Premier League. And I don't remember who the Premier League teams were, but that was when the first time that Stefano, I think you said, running in like Scooby-Doo villains.
I think I remember what you were talking. I can't remember which teams, but yeah, there was one like full on Fiesta. Like it was just so.
Yeah, I would like if Mel or Stefano, you remember who or what team that was, and we could find that clip, man. I just want to watch that clip again. But I was thinking about that one, but then I just like found this one, and I was like, man, I really want to highlight XYZ and how damn good they are. Like that's an incredible team fight. That we just watched.
Well, and to execute against Kimchi Boys, right? Like you are talking about mechanically outplaying some of the top players in North America. You know, as you know, they're kept as Grandmaster and Lamppost as Challenger, but like, it was a full on outplay, in particular from Kept and LE there. So yeah, like really really impressive stuff. That. Aggression, just like recognizing the cooldowns and recognizing the power of your champions, like for Kept to go back in like that, it's like such a good thing to highlight. Like that's really really like impressive from Kept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, like solo queue, if that was me, I mean, obviously I'm not a challenger player or a diamond player.
Right,
but
right, good. Yeah.
Run away, flash, do anything, get the heck out. I don't want to feed anymore. You know, just super impressive. So.
Yeah.
I do want to point out just in that play, just to add to more mechanical outplays, the Mordekaiser E was not on cooldown, it was off cooldown for a few seconds, but he was able to time it so that he got the Yuumi out mid dash and CC'd her, so the Yuumi attach went on cooldown as well, which is just such a presence of mind to like be able to like think mid team fight. Okay, I need to save this specifically for Yuumi W, and then timing that because it's basically unreactable. He would have had to physically count it out and then get it. It's just insane all around.
Yeah.
And he was almost dead at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like two autos from TF would have killed him at that point. Like it's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of crazy. I always shout out the junglers. Like, I love playing the jungle. I'm kind of a Phil main, but I love playing in the jungle. And jungle pathing is something I'm really passionate about. It's something I'm really into. And Captain Snarfles was one of those players who's just a joy to watch in terms of jungle pathing. Just like really clever stuff, and a lot of it is just like advanced jungle pathing, which most high level junglers know. But Captain Snarfles was able to adapt. He was able to apply just the right amount of pressure, and he was the reason that they were in. That they were keeping up with the tempo of Kimchi Boys ever. He was always 961's the best jungler in the league for sure, but Captain Snarfles was matching 961. He was tracking him properly. He was able to get the rotations, able to be in the right place at the right time. I just want to shout out Captain Snarfles before we move on. Really, really impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right. Like like 9-1 should have been on his own level, but Captain Snarfles was the only person that could even be on that level. He maybe wasn't as good, but the fact that he could compete is a freaking miracle, man.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They were so good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we will move on to the winners of our Premier League, which is the Kimchi Boys. If you saw them, if you know, as my man Pusha T once said. If you watch this team, you know exactly what we're going to talk about. And the number one thing to talk about, of course, is Yunbi, the best player in our league, no question. Not. Like, even though there were other really good players, nobody was, like, I wouldn't argue anybody was close to Yunbi. He's just, like, not only his mechanical play in lane, not only his, champion pool, not only his, like, map awareness individually, but he was also able to basically, like, you don't even have to hear it. We did hear it in the end from 961, but you don't have to hear 961 tell you Yunbi is shot calling to know Yunbi is shot calling. Like, he's has already told his team what's about to happen, and he's already started doing the thing that is going to cause Kimchi Boys to get the next advantage. Like, it's just all of this team was really, really good, but Yunbi was on another level, man.
To quote who was formerly C9 but Sneaky, the pro player, Jesus, this guy is so effing good. What the hell? About Yunbi while he was being stomped on his stream by Yunbi.
Yeah, that's a real thing that was said about Yunbi by a professional League of Legends player, yeah.
No, I'm not even joking. This was on stream like 2 weeks ago. Like, it's so insane. Yunbi is just next level in everything he does. His mechanics are probably top 5 in North America. His knowledge, I have to assume, I haven't been inside his head, but are probably top 5 in North America. He has a diverse champion pool. He evidently works well with others. There's nothing he can't do. And it seems like it's almost unfair to the other teams to let Yunbi play in this league. It's like playing against someone who took steroids or something, because Yunbi is so far ahead of everyone. It's crazy.
And he's increasing the level of the people he's playing around. I mean, 961. So 961 and Yunbi are brothers, I believe. I think that's what he said. And this guy, like 961 216 is like, so he's the best jungler in the league. He is like through osmosis, he has become like this crazy mechanical jungler who's able to get these crazy rotations and like literally win every skirmish. That mid jungle duo, like it's almost like you could put anyone around them and you'd win. But they didn't put anyone. They put Cozy Shroud, who's like top 100 challenger, and then in the bot lane they have this like super like consistent duo of I Am Owner and Just in Time, who Just in Time, we had him on the desk a couple of times to do interviews, and he was like he was talking about really advanced macro stuff and draft stuff, so he's able to contribute as well. So, it's just Kimchi Boys, it would have taken a miracle to beat them. And, XYZ, they were at the edge of a miracle, man. Like, the fact that they played Kimchi Boys close at all is just so impressive. And, that's how good Kimchi Boys are.
Yeah. I think that if Kimchi Boys doesn't come back, if Yunbi does end up going pro, and as a result 9-6 doesn't want to compete, it wouldn't surprise me if this team, Kimchi Boys, as we're seeing them now, is the best team to play in the Manitoba Esports League for the next several seasons.
Well,
they are so good.
I would say, I would go so far as to say, and while we're being hyperbolic, I would go so far as to say this is probably the best regional League of Legends team ever assembled. Like, unless if I shouldn't say that in North America, I'll say. In Europe and Korea, we're talking about a different thing. But in North America, what other like regional league would be able to field a team like this? Like, I just don't know.
Like, I feel like at best, if you wanted to get a technicality on it, gaming houses, but like they live together because they were on a team. But no, you're so right. And someone is mentioning in chat, Korea and Europe, as you said as well, are all
That's
different.
Kieran, by the way. Hey, Kieran.
Hey, Kieran. They're so different, but like I actually do agree. I agree with you. I don't think if you got the best players that were naturally from one place that's in North America, this is probably the best team that you could come up with in like arguably in the world. They are so strong.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, guys, I was completely unaware of the League of Legends talent, the esports talent in Manitoba.
Yeah.
Before I joined the team here, and unfortunately, in my head, I assumed that it was mediocre. And I am ashamed to have ever thought that. My ignorance. I am ashamed of my ignorance because, man, like these are incredible players, and like you said, this is an incredible team, and it just like it excites me.
Yeah,
man, like it's super exciting to see that, and then to see young players looking up to these guys who live in Winnipeg and think, oh man, I can go to Worlds. Rodolph did it. I can be 13th in Challenger in North America. Yunbi's doing it. I could make Sneaky freak out on stream because I'm kicking his ass. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's very exciting.
Yeah, and like you don't even have to get that far to start to be noticed. Like in North America and it's top of North America, everybody knows Yunbi. Every single pro player who plays North American solo queue knows who Yunbi is, knows when he's like you will probably know even if they play with nameplates off that they're playing against Yunbi. Like, but you don't even have to be that far. We saw Tiger Clown, the sub for XYZ. Just, it was Stefano who messaged us all, hey, Tiger Clown's popping off on Broxa's stream. And it was like Tiger Clown playing, Silas and like, getting, crazy kill streaks in a challenger solo queue game, like people talk about at the highest level, people talk a little bit about like the state of North American solo queue and, how it's not, it's not at the level of other solo queue regions, but in reality, when you get to the very top, you've got a few games going on that are just completely consisting of like professional players, academy players, and like players like Yunbi, and then occasionally and since you've got only a couple of those games, when another pro queues up, then they're down into a grandmaster game or something. Then if you're a grandmaster trying to grind, trying to get up there, if you really impress them, that is one of those things that they notice, and that's one of those things that matters to your career. So yeah, like having people like Yunbi and like Cozy Shroud who have like ascended in that way to look up to is really, really great. Like it's just really good for the scene in general.
To say more about just to bring it up briefly, because I forgot to mention for the Sneaky Yumby thing, Sneaky said a lot more than that. It was just really R-rated, so I couldn't.
I thought you were gonna. More. Yeah.
So it got like he was like I swear to God, if you could have a marriage proposal just about how strong someone is on Rise, Sneaky would have done that to Yumbi. Yeah. Because he was so into it. But no, it's as you were saying, it's like as I want to comment on what Darren was saying, is he didn't expect the Winnipeg talent to be so good. No one did. Like it is, like it is so exceptional. I was thinking, like one of my good friends is like High Diamond. I'm like, oh, he's like just statistically,
he's got to be one of the best players in Winnipeg. Yeah.
He's totally. Probably like top 3, but like he doesn't even reach top 15. Yeah. Like never mind top 5. Like it's so crazy how good people in Winnipeg are.
Yeah, for having so few people, just like such a small population, it's really inordinate the amount of people, which is just a really cool thing to, really cool thing to be aware of. And I feel like we're doing like I love that we are as an organization having the opportunity to kind of bring that to light and to show people that. And if somebody like Yunbi or Cozy Shroud, or and further in the future somebody like Kept, or these other players can use this for like a highlight reel or something like that, we will have done our part, right? I think that's a really cool it's a really cool thing to acknowledge.
Yeah. No, when I see Yumbi like playing for like CLG in 2 years, I'm gonna be like, I mean, yeah, he's good, but like I knew him back when, you know, I'm an OG, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's flex to be ignored by all the people in Twitch chat, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, congratulations once again to Kimchi Boys, who, you know, swept through this league even amongst very, very tough competition in some cases. And yeah, just in general, I think, Darren, what you said is a good sort of way to like encompass this. Is like we didn't know, you know, we didn't know it would be like this, and that's what you know, not to, you know, toot our own horn, but that's what I think is very, very cool about the Manitoba Esports League, is that we are able to, you know, show people this. And, you know, when I tell people, you know, which, you know, I'm sure we've all on the broadcast team, and any player who's, you know, telling people to come watch the stream has run into this, where it's like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow night? Oh, I'm doing a video game thing where I commentate on video games, and it's like a sport. But then if you say like, okay, so this is a multi-million-dollar industry, and some of the best players in the entire world are playing in our Manitoba Esports League, that's a bit of a better sell, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I definitely.
And it's not clickbait either.
No,
for once, it's not clickbait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is accurate. So yeah, very, very cool. I will go back to a message I received from our leader Mel here, who has sent a little bit of insight. And Oasis Esports in particular, there's some info about them. They're talking about bringing in a new ADC. So that's definitely an interesting prospect there. But Oasis Esports may be shaken up a little bit in general. Some people are going around. And the other big thing to note is actually Kimchi and XYZ are most likely going to be fragmented in some way. Kimchi Boys, as we said, Yunbi has some aspirations that we understand to, you know, go further, which we hope he does. XYZ as well, I believe are moving. Some of the players or are not going to be in the league anymore. So, you know, these players know each other, and, you know, like if some kind of dream team comes together, you know, if Rodov is moving along, and then, you know, players like Major Danger or something are available, or Aldre is another like really good ADC from Winnipeg who played for Vodortron this past season. So, you know, these players are all sort of free agents now, and if, you know, if they're getting together to another team, we could see a huge roster shuffle. Yeah, and we've got new teams coming in as well. We've got more interest in the league than before, and so like a lot of these teams are, you know, a lot of these players are going to be coming together to register and figure out how the next season is going to look. So that's very exciting to say. I'm not sure if there's much more to say about it. If you guys have any comments about anything I just said, I know it's all kind of vague.
Yeah, I actually I was wondering specifically about your guys' opinion on because I was just thinking about this myself the other day, is how strong do you think the new teams are going to be? Do you think that there's like maybe some hidden challenger in Winnipeg, you know, Yumbi 2.0 that's about to rise up and carry the whole league? Or do you think there's maybe...
Rise up?
Yeah, that was totally intentional. I'm clever, I promise.
Yep.
Do you think it's going to be... Or do you think they're kind of like the new teams are going to sit middle of the pack, bottom, top? I know it's like a almost impossible thing to guess, but what are you guys thinking?
I bet there is at least one or two other either like players who are either challenger or good enough to be challenger, kind of hunkered down in their, you know, during the pandemic, just grinding. And I hope those people, like, I bet those people are out there in Winnipeg, and I hope that they are interested in playing in our league, because that would be really cool to see.
That person is Darren.
My guess is I'm gonna guess there's gonna be two like big star players on the level of like Kept and Yunbi and stuff, who will, you know, be who are still yet to join this league and who will emerge next season.
I mean, I can't really say I agree, I guess, because technically you're guessing. But I hope that what you just said is true, Wes, because I have infinite hope now. Like I said, I was so incredibly pleasantly surprised.
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit, man. And I really hope that these people who are, like you said, hunkered down practicing during the pandemic, that they are, if they aren't aware of the league, they become aware of the league in some way, or they are, maybe scouted by some of these players who are playing at high levels, right? Man, I think it would be so exciting to have a couple more of those players come in, and like these shuffles that you're talking about, the roster switches. I posed the question to the analyst desk, the Red Bull analyst desk, and in the grand final, if you could have any combination of players in this league, what it would be. And I think Wes came in really strong with Kimchi Boys top 3 and League of Dogs bot lane, Gabby's and Threshmain put together.
That combination is not going to happen, by the way.
Yeah.
Is it confirmed though? Are we sure?
Yeah, it's confirmed that not all Kimchi Boys players will be involved with the league next season. I believe Yanbi is one of them. So,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so I just think that like there could be so many really cool combinations. I talked about earlier to have Rodov in the top lane.
Yes.
Like a Gabby's Threshmain, Rodov, kept.
Roman or something.
Yeah, Roman, Captain Snarfle's like.
Yeah, that'd be pretty damn good.
Dude,
that's a good shout.
Why are they playing in our league? Just move that team to the LCS. Like, that's fine. Like,
yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that'd be. I totally agree. I think that'd be really cool. What do you think, Stefano? You asked us, but do you think there's some phantom challengers in Winnipeg?
I hope there is. I'm doubtful. I'm doubtful that we're gonna have a lot of new, really good players. But I'm pretty confident that the teams we have, specifically Oasis, Weight Slammers, League of Dogs, specifically, are all about to get their Super Saiyan moment. They're gonna power up. I think we're gonna see them improve a lot. And as for the new teams that come in, my guess is that they're going to be middle of the road to bottom somewhere. But I do fully expect that they're going to get a lot better going forward.
Yeah.
So I'm less excited for the week 1, but I'm very excited for like season 2 playoffs, because I think that's going to be when the older teams have grown into what they can be, and the newer teams, that's when they've had some experience under the belt and they're going to be able to show up, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, League of Dogs, we haven't heard anything, as far as we know, they're coming back exactly as they were. And League of Dogs were already one of these teams which had like some crazy, some crazy talent, and were able to be like very, very impressive in the league. So, it's like, seeing them go into the next season, if they do keep their same lineup, is going to be very exciting. And yeah, I think I agree as well. If Oasis, upgrades in a one role or another, that you're looking at, Tathalis and Roman, this crazy mid jungle duo. If the meta stays the same way it is, you've already got the setup for a top team there. And Tathalis only came in halfway through the season, so now that they've practiced together, there's all sorts of different things that could be that could happen with that with that combo. So. Yeah, with these different teams. Yeah, if anybody has any closing thoughts, I've got a couple of housekeeping things to take care of. But Darren or Stefano, first of all, thank you for joining me. I like talking about this stuff, and I know you guys at some time or another have enjoyed talking about it as well. So I had a good time. Any like closing thoughts about the league? Anything left unsaid?
Oh, actually, I did forget. I was contacted by a player who said he's I don't think he's challenger yet, but he's like really up and coming. I think he's going to be challenger soon. He's joining league maybe. His name is JS Rambo. A great jungler overall.
Right.
The only problem is every time I play with him, I int. But maybe he's a new talent that we're looking for. Yeah,
you can. I think he has a Twitch stream, twitch.tv/JSRambo, and if you check that out, you could see some challenger gameplay. Like if you look at the VODs, you'll see you see what you're dealing with that particular player.
We should all check that out and give that a follow. Yeah, but only after we give Manitoba Esports a follow.
Yeah.
And same with following them on Instagram.
Yeah.
And subscribing to their YouTube channel, of course.
Exactly. Darren, any closing thoughts from you?
I just like, man, Stefano is like, I'm like, oh my.
He really had you going,
He's got an in. Wow, these guys are just messaging him, and he's like, he has this insider information. Holy, he's so cool. Man, I mean, I don't know what else I can say that hasn't already been said about season 2. You know, I've talked about how excited I am to see what we get, and as the weeks go forward, as we move towards that, I believe August 3rd is when we're coming back with season 2. I don't know if that's a soft date or a set date.
Yep.
Yeah, so August 3rd, we're coming back. I'm just excited to see how it all, how all these shuffles go, and then to see how these new matchups go, and it's going to be exciting, man. And the nappy narrative coming in strong, I'm sure.
Yeah. Johnny and I are going to milk that until it's dry, man. Yeah. Before we go, I just want to give an announcement. I'll read this directly because I'm reading it for basically the first time. I can't give a general overview of it. Mel just sent me this. The Manitoba Esports League and Ontario Esports League have partnered up to develop an interprovincial esports competition, the first of its kind. The top 3 teams from the Valorant, League of Legends, Premier, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive leagues will be flown to Toronto or Winnipeg semi-annually to compete on stage for additional prizing aside from their local league. This will give players an opportunity to compete against other top talent from Canada. This tournament will take place in November in Toronto, Ontario, and June in Winnipeg. First venue for this event will be the Red River X, Winnipeg, Manitoba, in June 2021. So, that's the big announcement there. That's the live show. That's the live finals of that interprovincial competition. Basically, our own little MSI or our own little Rift Rivals situation between Ontario and Manitoba. So I've been excited about this since I've known about it. It's so cool to be able to pit our teams. It's too bad we couldn't do it this season with Kimchi Boys because I don't know if there's going to be anyone that dominant next season. But still, we've already talked about how good of a team can be fielded. Multiple teams. So that's going to be a very, very exciting competition there. June 2021, Red River X. Get your tickets when they're available because then we'll hopefully all be able to gather again and play some League of Legends live at the X. So that's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah.
That's hype, man. That's so hype.
Plus, Manitoba is going to win.
Yes.
I don't really have an or for that sentence, but if you guys can think of something stupid for me to do, if Manitoba loses, I'll do it.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, we can here. The plan will be, and this is all just like spitballing now, but the plan hopefully will be to have groups of have broadcast talent combine as well, because they've got their own esports league in Ontario, so we'll hope to have a rotating analyst desk and caster desk there, so that we can join forces with their broadcast team. And we've already met at least one of the guys from the broadcast team. Seems like a really cool guy. I definitely think that there will be some epic banter going on in between the two regions, as it were. So that's going to be really exciting. That's kind of like the flagship event for next season. We've got lots of really great stuff coming for next season, but in general, I think that kind of is the center point of it all. And so definitely stay tuned. Valorant, League of Legends, and Counter-Strike are all going to be played there, as well as they're going to be played next season. Speaking of Counter-Strike and Valorant, I'm going to do the same thing as we did today, except with the CSGO broadcast team, Wilbus, Rudy, and Gunnar. We're going to do that next week sometime. I believe it's going to be Wednesday, but I'm not exactly sure. It'll be next week sometime, so follow the channel, and we will go live on there. And so if you're interested in the Counter-Strike breakdown, it won't be as long as this because there aren't as many teams and there's only one league, obviously. But we'll talk about that, and we'll give a little preview of Valorant. Maybe we'll just kind of talk about Valorant a little bit. So yeah, that's going to be really exciting. Very, very exciting things in general happening with the Manitoba Esports League. I'm so happy to be a part of it. I hope I speak for everyone. I think I do. That it's just like a very, very exciting thing to be a part of. So yeah, follow us on all our socials and everything. And yeah, have a great day. Darren, do you want to give us your signature sign off?
Everybody, stay safe, but more importantly, stay salty.
My heart is